Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. Today is Thursday, October 9th, 2025, and WP Stream. I tried to set it up yesterday and I fixed. Okay, I have show updates for you. And I know I'm not the news. I try not to be the news, but the last couple of days have been very frustrating trying to upload. And I have Substack fixed. I think I have Streamable fixed. So I can't, there's no way to do, I really like the BunnyNet video thing. I really like it. I think it's actually really good, but there's no way to allow downloads from the video directly. And a lot of people they download the video and then put it on their TV or something like that. So I think that I'll be sticking with Streamable for now, but we'll see. We'll see. And yesterday I was determined to figure out a private stream, and I got it all set up. But the only problem is, the whole reason I want to do it is to provide it for the people who are subscription members on CanadaPoly.com. And I cannot figure out, and so I've got a ticket set out. I can't figure out how to have people who have already purchased subscriptions be allowed access to the stream. What the software wants to do is have pay-per-view, which is like $5 for a stream. Now, once you buy a stream, then you can have access to the whole thing. But I've got subscribers who have already purchased access to the show. I want to give them access to the show, and I have no idea how to do it. And it's not obvious, so I have no idea. I can't make that final connection. So we're close, but we're closer than we were 2 days ago. Okay, so now about the news. 3 million temporary residents in Canada whose kids get birthright citizenship? What? You're a temporary resident, and if you have a kid, that child is Canadian? Yes, that's what the Liberals did. The Conservatives tried to stop it, and, they didn't. So there's that invasion ongoing in the West, right? There's a monastery of money laundering, and we will be talking about that. Chinese influence in PEI through a monastery. I can't wait for the BBC series. It's going to be interesting. Focus on hate, but no worries about institutional capture or the removal of our culture. In a school in Ontario, there was O Canada played in Arabic, and I said we shouldn't be playing O Canada in anything but the official language. And I went further and said we should have one official language, and it should be English. But I digress. This whole idea of rewriting the national anthem to fit other languages is not a good idea. It's a slippery slope, and we've slid down most of it already. So there's lots to get to. Let's get to it. First, we've got to talk about what's going on with that monastery in PEI. It seems to be a base to direct power, political power, money, all sorts of property flipping, money, payments, under the table cash dollars for political movements and other things too. So there's Sam Cooper in this. I thought this guy was Kevin Vung, but it's not Kevin Vung. He's a fellow at the same place that works with Sam Cooper to investigate all of this stuff. And they're following the money, and the money is painting a very, very concerning picture. So here is these guys, and I'm sorry, I can't remember this guy's name, but this is a 20-minute press conference that aired, I think yesterday, that was put out yesterday by CPAC, and it's jaw-dropping, and you should probably watch the whole thing. The whole thing is absolutely worthwhile because they go through a whole bunch of the details and what this means. And I think that there's nothing really stopping the monastery from continuing operations. I think this is just hey, so this is happening currently still. So weird, right? Here we go.
Coming into the province was all in cash, consecutive $100 bills, brand new, in the amounts on a weekend of hundreds of thousands of dollars. This amounted to millions of dollars over the course of time that we looked into it, over the number of years that the monastery, Bliss and Wisdom, has been operating in Prince Edward Island. We were able to establish that the monastery has set up a network of corporations. And if you look at it from a point of view of money laundering, it's what you would anticipate finding in an organized crime network. This monastery, if you look at it from a Dalai Lama's point of view, you would not anticipate finding corporations, land transfers, land flips, and citizens being paid under the table cash for residences and property. And that is what has happened in Prince Edward Island now for a period of a number of years, ever since the provincial nominee program came into existence and they were allowed in. Master the master Jinyan who came into the province, it is our belief from our investigation that he's tied directly back to the PLC, or the Communist Party in China. In my experience, having worked both in Asia and from 91 to 94, having collaborated with Sam Cooper and had hours of discussion with him over the many, many years, I can tell you my view is that the PRC government, the only way to describe it is that they are the largest transnational organized crime group in the history of the world.
And when he says PRC, he's talking the People's Republic of China, Communist China, CCP. Okay, so PRC is just another name for Communist China and its government. Biggest organized crime ring in the world, in the history of the world. It ain't no thing. Just give them Vancouver and we'll call it even. Holy smoke. Pretty wild stuff. And in response, this is Sam Cooper with Jason James and Brave New Normal episode 100. This was posted yesterday. And Sam Cooper, it says, exposing Canada's deep state. Sam Cooper is an investigative journalist. We discuss the shadow government behind Mark Carney and Canada's Liberal Party, the corporate interests they're connected to, and the potential global consequences of their tightly knit relationship with China. So I think this is just an indication of just how robust and widespread the network is. They are using a monastery in PEI to launder money, power, and real estate. And if you don't think that's happening in other provinces too, I've got bad news, right? Like, it's happening all over the place. And we are not in a snookered position, in a bad state is an understatement. We don't even realize how bad it is, right? If we realized how bad it was, we might do something. Doug Ford is talking about the notwithstanding clause, and he is upset that the government, Sean Fraser, is going after. This is our grab bag of governance, by the way. Sean Fraser is going after the notwithstanding clause, and he says you've got better things to worry about. He says the notwithstanding clause preserves the right of elected governments to make decisions for the people they represent. The federal government should focus on fixing its broken bail system, not this. And so Ford has a bit of a technical letter. It seems like it was written for him. It doesn't seem like it's got his personality, so I'm not going to read it. But he's talking about notwithstanding clause, and there are other issues. Yeah, like money laundering through various places like monasteries. Here is 1BC, and they're talking about transitioning an 8-year-old boy. Now, it's specifically, they say, Dallas Brody's sharing this story. She says a BC school is gender transitioning an 8-year-old boy without his father's consent. I raised this in the House, and the NDP Attorney General Nikki Sharma calls it a conspiracy theory, but this man's case is currently in court. I even spoke with him this morning. So the reason that the school is moving forward with this, I imagine, but I'm not sure, is because they have permission from one of the parents, and potentially the parents are separated, right? And again, I don't ascribe to gender ideology. I think convincing your 8-year-old that they're the opposite sex and then helping them, quote, transition to that sex is akin to a mental illness that's very close to Munchausen's by proxy. And Munchausen's by proxy is a condition where mothers craving attention from their friends, from the medical community, from whoever, make their children sick. They used to break arms or legs. They used to poison the kids. I remember watching documentaries on Munchausen's by proxy cases. I was a weird kid. And the foundation of the case was that the mother was poisoning the children through the food, and all of her kids were sick. But when they were removed from her custody, like went to live at grandma's house or whatever for a little while, then the illness would disappear. And so people started getting like, what the heck's going on, right? I bet you if the 8-year-old lived with his dad, different story altogether, right? So anyway, it's one of those things that not my red flag, like there's a red flag on this because, and again, I don't subscribe to this gender ideology thing. I think that it's a sickness, but the reason they're calling it a conspiracy theory is because there's more to the story than the school is gender transitioning an 8-year-old. The school shouldn't be involved in this at all anyway. The school should be calling the Family and Children's Services or somebody to help the child who's being a victim of this Munchausen's by proxy thing. They shouldn't be enthusiastically empowering the Munchausen's by proxy person to abuse their child, right? Here's some poisoned food, kid. Enjoy, right? We're going to go fawn over your mother now, right? Like that's what's essentially happening. And not just the school, everybody. And if somebody says this is pretty crazy, the mother's like, whoa, hold on a second. Like you can't criticize me. This is somehow a protected thing. But someday there's going to be a reckoning. It's not going to be fun. Here is Dallas Brody talking about this.
Just this morning, I spoke with a father who's here today, who is fighting to protect his 8-year-old son. His boy was encouraged at school to believe he was actually a girl. Teachers used a new name and pronouns and kept it secret. Now, a psychologist is already discussing puberty blockers despite having never met the child. My question through you, Mr. Speaker, to the Premier. What do you have to say to parents who are justifiably enraged by the reality that under your direction, schools are transitioning children behind their backs?
Attorney General.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Spreading disproven conspiracy theories to spread fear and misinformation that targets vulnerable kids when those decisions should be made by their parents with the love and support that they provide them and the doctors. I think I've spoken before about how we really disagree with this type of politics. And we're really sorry that to all those people out there and the families out there that are going through this and supporting their loved ones and the kids out there that are hearing this, I'm sorry.
Just this.
Again, this is fawning all over the Munchausen's by proxy mother and poo-pooing anybody who says, are you seriously allowing a school to psychologically intervene on a child about their gender? And again, I don't understand what's going on. Like, where's the mother in this whole case, right? So there are things about this exchange that are very concerning, and not just the fact that the Attorney General is claiming that any kind of questioning of this practice is akin to hate, and she's saying, oh, we're really sorry to the families who have to deal with this. What? Like, the whole thing is crazy. It's crazy. Here's Juno News reporting Conservatives tried and failed to remove birthright citizenship from the Liberals' Bill C-3, which will extend citizenship to over an estimated 100,000 people. So, yeah, if you have both parents who are permanent residents, you get birthright citizenship. And the Conservatives tried to remove this, but the Liberals didn't want to hear anything. And now there's 100,000 new Canadian citizens. So yay, probably who've never been to Canada. Michelle Rempel-Garner is responding to National Newswatch. National Newswatch says Conservatives want to end birthright citizenship for children of temporary residents. That's just unbelievable. And Michelle Rempel-Garner says, thanks to the Liberals' radical immigration levels, there are now 3 million plus temporary residents in Canada, comprising an astonishing 7% of Canada's population. Canada must put conditions on to restrict automatic citizenship to where at least one parent is a permanent resident or citizen. So yeah, same thing. Temporary residents, permanent residents, or citizen, we are watering down the value of being a Canadian by just everybody can be a Canadian, right? Anybody, everybody, everywhere can be a Canadian. And that doesn't help us with being able to pay for our obligations. Making the whole world Canadian doesn't make Canada stronger. It makes us broke. Save Our Ostriches says, Ostrich Farm Update 8. The WHO trade agreement is dictating the kills of livestock. The CFIA is not allowing blood tests. A detailed list of birds was given to the vets. However, the U of F has been prevented from tending the animals. This is the ostrich farm. This is the name of the ostrich farm. Have been prevented from tending to the animals, leading to the death of Spirit. The CFIA says even if they had a negative test, the ostriches will still die. Over 600 Canadian farmers have undergone massive slaughter of healthy animals. There is no legal remedy to combat this international agreement, which has affected the unnecessary slaughter of livestock globally. There is a solution to this: stop the cull. Sure, I think that's true. That is the mechanism they're using here is a healthcare mechanism to say, if there's a sick bird, then the flock dies. If there's a sick pig, then the whatever group of pigs die, right? I don't know if it's the barn, I don't know if it's the whole farm, but anybody who was potentially connected to that or exposed to that has to die according to the rules all the way up at the WHO. And I guess little old Canada can't stop that. And we should stop that. Do we not have the ability to have the choice to be ours? Don't we have the right to make our own policies? The WHO says no way, right? Not with these ostriches, not with anybody. And one of my concerns was that if we got to stay for the ostriches, this policy is going to continue. And so I'm glad to see that these guys, I think this is the official Ostrich Farm BC. These guys are actually addressing the core of the issue. So bravo, everyone. Yay. Good job. I'm happy to see it. All right, we've got to talk about cultural collapse and cultural suicide and what exactly are we doing? Why are we doing this? And Country Road says this ban should be nationwide. In Florida, leading report is reporting Florida legislature considering a law to ban Sharia law from being enforced in the United States. So no Sharia law here, no courts other than our courts. We are the law, right? Judge Dredd DeSantis. And interesting. I hope that goes through and people are saying, yes, we can use this as a model for the rest of the United States. Maybe we'll see. The radical left will do everything they can to stop that, I think. David Mulrooney says Arabic O Canada on October 7th is institutional capture. I'll go one step further. This is a National Post opinion piece. I'll go one step further and say Arabic O Canada on any day is institutional capture. The national anthem should be used as an opportunity to practice your English. Welcome to Canada. This is our national anthem. Practice your English. Or if you're in Quebec, practice your French, right? It can be sung in French. And I'll not rehash my issues with having two official languages, but it has to do with consolidating power in the one province where everybody's bilingual, right? Everywhere else, the whole rest of the country is pretty much not bilingual with French, right? Vancouver, you might have bilingual with Mandarin or Chinese, but anywhere else, you're generally not. New Brunswick, maybe you're going to have bilingual people in New Brunswick, but that means that the leadership of the country comes from Quebec and New Brunswick. If you have an official language like French, where you need to speak both French and English to be a leader in the country because you're physically in Ottawa. This has all been done by design, by the way, and it's improper. You should have one national language. And again, I'm not trying to screw with Quebec. They can be French if they want to, but federally, we're English. And I think that would fix things. But anyway, Arabic on October 7th, or any day, is institutional capture. Gullible teachers helped power the children's crusade of the We Charity. Then it was all about trans kids and Canadian genocide. Now Islamism, ideology lazily replaces education. Yes, and not just trans and gender ideology, but also this whole idea of colonialism and like the whole left Marxist illness has infected the schools. Darshan says the Canadian anthem should only be sung or played or rendered in English or French. It's clear that allowing it in other languages makes it possible to pander to specific immigrant groups or to advance divisive political ideological agendas. The need of the hour is unification. Yes, everybody should be on the same board, on the same ship, rowing in unison together. Because if we row with diversity, well, we get nowhere, right? It just doesn't go anywhere. Here's, Project Ontario. I think this is probably not what I was looking at. Doug Ford says this vile act of hate. He's responding to York Regional Police reporting Toronto man charged in hate-motivated attack at a Markham hotel. And he says this vile act of hate is completely unacceptable. No one should ever be targeted or feel unsafe because of their faith. How many Christian churches burned, Doug? Our government stands with Ontario's Muslim community and will always fight back against Islamophobia in all its forms. When the Conservative Ontario Premier bends the knee to Islamophobia, you know you need a new Conservative Premier because these guys just ain't conservative. It just isn't so, man. Greg says, while the Canadian government obsessively accuses white Canadians of being violent racists and sexists, they're importing hordes of foreigners from the most violent, racist, and sexist places on earth. Somalian, come on right in. Pakistani, oh yes, come on in. Yes, why don't you take some place in our leadership? We absolutely love Khalistan, right? Like, What are we doing? What is happening? We're so racist for pointing it out and noticing? How dare we? Right? Wild. This is what's happening in Australia. Australians' Indian-born race discrimination commissioner is asked about his national anti-racism framework that states white people can't experience racism. He gives a non-answer that endorses a far-left definition of racism where white people can only be perpetrators. So this is the end goal, in my opinion. They want to be able to shut down any speech they don't like. It insulates the groups that are on the protected list, and there's no insulation for anybody who would bring it up, right? If you say, I don't think that people should be have honor killings or something like that, right? I don't think that that's okay. Somebody will then say that's quite Islamophobic of you, right? They won't engage in the meat of the argument. They'll say that's anti-whatever of you, right? And anti-Semitic, whatever you want to call it. And that is meant to shut down your criticism of their thing and turn it back on you. Now, all of a sudden, you're the problem, and their thing is no longer on the table to discuss. And it's insidious. Oh man, we're already at 21 minutes. Here, we'll listen to this, and then I got to kill the stream. Here we go.
Okay, I have some questions around the National Anti-Racism Framework. That document calls for commitments that include acknowledgement of the systemic and structural nature of racism. The explainer on 5 common myths and misconceptions about racism that bears the AHRC logo and is available on the AHRC website explicitly says that we all live and participate in a racist system. Commissioner, do you think Australia is a racist country?
I think that racism significantly affects systems and institutions in Australia, and
Dodge.
that's something that we need to combat to make our society better for everyone.
President.
I feel that sigh. I feel that deeply in my bones. And they go on back and forth, but they're saying basically the same thing. This whole back end of the hate speech stuff is Trump and Kash Patel talking about how they're going after Antifa, they're going after the funding. This particularly, Trump said, do you guys want to see it? All right, I'd love to do it. Let's do it. So anyway, there's lots of other show. Check out CanadaPoly.com if you want access to the full show. But if not, that's okay. We will catch you tomorrow. And for everybody else, we will carry on after I end this stream. I'm really, really busy today. I have I have a meeting coming up really early this morning, which is not usual. I don't usually have early morning meetings. And then I have an appointment I have to get to midday that's out of the area, and it might take me till 3. And so it's just super, super busy today. So I'll be gone from 11 till maybe 3, but it could also end early. So I don't know. It's all up in the air. Anyway, very busy day today, so we've got to get this done early. That's why I started early, and we'll carry on. Overton says FBI Director Kash Patel just declared war on the networks funding Antifa, and he's coming for every dollar. We are following the money. Money never lies. Money can lie sometimes, right? I've seen situations where money's lying, where you said that I had a refund, but there's no refund, right? Give me my refund, and then the refund comes. So I guess money. It was the people that lied. Anyway, I digress. FBI director said the FBI will not stop until every funding mechanism is dismantled. Do you think this is going to hit Canada? I think probably, right? I think that the Canadian government is funding Antifa through NGOs, and I think that's probably not going to be that hard. I think Andy Lee's exposed Canadian government funding of Antifa. So if the FBI has any kind of expertise at all, right, they'll find that connection. But I mean, maybe not, right? Maybe Andy Lee is the best we got. Here is Kash Patel, and it's 2 minutes. I don't know that we're going to listen to all of it, but here we go.
What we are doing at the FBI is simple. It does not require rocket science. We are following the money. Money never lies.